beautiful Tuesday here in Seoul. Hello and welcome to Business Daily. I'm Lee Ji-yoon. We have a lot on our plate today, so let's get started with a look at the day's highlights. In part one of our special three-part series in household debt, we take a look at not only the quantity but also the quality of Korea's ever rapidly growing debt. Is the European Union going after all tax avoiders? Apple is not the only one on the EU's radar, as it's expected to investigate many more tax benefits given to multinationals headquartered in Europe. These stories and more coming right up. But first, the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office summoned Lotte Group Chairman Shin Dongbin today for questioning over alleged corruption. The 61-year-old is suspected of embezzlement and breach of trust. Shin allegedly oversaw the creation of slush funds worth some $26 million and accepted some $8.8 million in unearned pay. Insiders say it's highly likely that Shin will be stripped of control over Lotte Holdings if prosecutors decide to press charges and hold him in custody. Lotte Holdings is Lotte Group's holding company with its head office based in Tokyo. Over the course of the week, we'll be examining an important obstacle to economic growth, Korea's skyrocketing household debt. Despite efforts to rein in soaring borrowing, household debt continues to grow beyond the $1 trillion mark. And in part one, our Eunice Kim reports on the state of Korea's household debt.
There's an understanding in Korea that more loans are taken out during the moving seasons of spring and fall, while they slump back in the summer and winter. That no longer appears to be the case, as Koreans are borrowing money throughout the year. In fact, August registered the largest monthly volume in new loans this year at $7.9 billion. And mortgages accounted for $5.5 billion of that, ticking up $400 million from the month before. The rise is despite the government's continual efforts to clamp down on uncontrolled borrowing.
Slowing the pace of borrowing looks to be difficult. When it comes to collective loans, there are intermediate payments and balances to fulfill until the apartments are completed.
And it's not just the quantity, but also the quality that's concerning. Money borrowed from non-bank entities has been on the rise too, clocking in at nearly $241 billion as of the end of July. And unlike those able to borrow from commercial banks, 60% of those pulling out quick money, typically at sky-high interest rates, were doing so to supplement their day-to-day living costs. Compared to the same period last year, subsistence loans rose by more than 7%, at double the pace of those with sufficient credit to borrow from banks. The Bank of Korea, which presented these stats, says it's not a cause for alarm yet.
It's true that there is a big increase in non-bank loans for individuals running home rental businesses.
It's a slope that's being closely watched, not only by the government, but also the financial sector. Korea's household debt to GDP ratio is at 88.4% and has been at the highest among emerging economies for 13 years. Given the worrisome quantity and quality of Korea's debt collection, some experts warn the load could have repercussions for the financial system within 3 years. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
More than half of the world's shipyards have shut down in recent years due to ongoing sluggish demand. According to shipping analytics company Clarkson Research, there are 402 shipyards in operation worldwide, down from a record 931 back in 2009, meaning that over 57% of facilities have shut down. And although all three Asian shipbuilding powerhouses, Korea, Japan, and China, have suffered major losses, China actually appears to have been hit the hardest, with more than 60% of its shipyards having closed in the same period. More than 17% of Japan's shipyards have closed shop, while 28% in Korea have pulled the plug in recent years. Clarkson Research said the market for new ships will remain stagnant in the near future, signaling that even more closures are on the horizon. By the end of this year, we'll know who the 6 final winners are in a fierce duty-free license competition for stores in Seoul, Busan, and Gangwon-do province. But until then, the race is becoming more fierce over permits for stores in southern parts of the capital. Our Lee Joo-young has more.
Roughly 2 weeks remain until the deadline for bids on 4 new duty-free stores in Seoul, and companies are vowing all-out efforts to win a license. Industry watchers say competition will be particularly intense south of the Hangang River cutting across Seoul, with Lotte and SK Networks desperate to claw back the operational rights for shops they've been running for years. The nation's third largest tax-exempt shop, Lotte Duty-Free Store, located in the capital's southern area Jamsil, failed to win over a license renewal last year, closing its doors in June. Market watchers say Lotte's odds of winning back its permit are good this time, but a widening probe into the group's alleged financial irregularities like creating slush funds and lobbying government officials may hurt its chances.
긴 시간 조사 받으셨는데 혐의 인정하셨습니까? 정은호 전 대표랑 대질신문 하셨나요?
모든 걸 검찰에서 잘 말씀 다 드렸습니다.
SK Networks said it will also try to win back the license for its Walker Hill duty-free that's been operating for more than 20 years in eastern Seoul. Other retail giants like Hyundai Department Store and Shinsegae are expected to be strong competition for the two companies. Hyundai said it wants to open an outlet at COEX in the southern shopping district of Gangnam-gu, while Shinsegae is looking to add another shop in Seoul. Duty-free stores are a rare bright spot in Korea's lackluster retail sector, growing by an average 20% over the past 5 years. Korea Customs Service says the 4 new duty-free outlets in the capital city, plus 2 others in Busan and Gangwon-do province, will likely generate just under $1 billion in investment and create over 5,000 jobs. Lee Joo-young, Business Daily.
Apple could just be the first of many companies that have appeared on the European Union's radar as it cracks down on corporate tax avoidance by multinational companies. Take a look.
Just last month, the European Commission ordered Apple to pay Ireland some $15 billion in unpaid taxes, plus interest. It said an illegal arrangement had allowed Apple to pay substantially less than other businesses in the country. The ruling for Apple is considered the highest profile move yet by the European Union in its bid to make global companies pay what authorities considered their fair share in EU taxes. Apple said it will appeal the ruling, and Ireland's parliament also voted in favor of legal action. The US government responded by saying that European officials are unfairly targeting American companies. But experts say that Apple is only one of many businesses that the EU is looking at as it continues to fight tax avoidance, which allows multinationals to slash their bills in countries like Luxembourg, Ireland, and the Netherlands. So how far will the EU go in its pursuit of global corporations and the tax benefits amid growing concerns about a mass exodus of businesses from the region?
And for more on this, Professor Yang Jun-suk from the Catholic University of Korea joins us in the studio today. Happy to see you here.
Happy to be here.
All right, so let's first start by looking at what led the European Union to launch such an in-depth investigation into tax profits involving multinational businesses.
Okay, well, let's start with the general picture first. There has been a lot of concern over several decades about tax avoidance.
Okay.
Some countries are deliberately lowering their tax rates, especially corporate tax rates, to attract multinational companies, especially the headquarters of multinational companies. And ever since the 2008 global financial crisis, when almost every advanced country has a budget deficit problem, they've been concentrating more on how to deal with this tax avoidance to get increase their own tax revenues. Some countries, like Ireland, have lowered their corporate taxes to attract the headquarters. Other countries are looking into measures where these kind of race to the bottom can be controlled so that their profits of their multinational companies can be repatriated into their own countries. Now, for Apple in particular, Ireland has, compared to other countries in Europe, very low corporate tax rate, 12.5%. But it specifically made a deal with Apple so that it will charge them even lower tax rates, ranging from 0.001%. 5%, sorry, 0.005% to 1%. So that's way lower than even 12.5%, which is very low to begin with from European standards. And what the European Commission, European Union found was that that difference constituted an illegal state aid, illegal subsidy. And that's causing a lot of problems because, well, legally, the European Union is treating this as a subsidy, which is sort of a trade problem, whereas Ireland is treating this as the tax rate decision problem, which is, according to EU rules, up to individual governments.
Now, we hear that McDonald's could be the next target for EU tax collectors since it has its headquarters in Luxembourg, as Apple has its headquarters in Ireland.
Okay, while the European Union wants each country to have its sovereign right to decide its own tax policy, they also want the countries to have what they think is a fair playing ground to locate their headquarters or operate their multinational company branches. So this is causing the problem. It's not entirely clear if McDonald's is something that they can go after legally. As I said before, technically, legally in Ireland, they apparently are going after the advantage Apple had against other countries, other companies which are located in Ireland, and treating it as a subsidy. So from the EU's legal standpoint, they're treating this as a trade problem and not necessarily a tax problem.
What kind of effect do you think this latest case will have on Ireland and its economy as a whole?
Okay, well, one of the reasons that MNCs, multinational companies, do locate their headquarters in Ireland is the fact that they have a relatively low corporate tax rate, 12.5%. But if you look at the surveys that the Ireland and other countries have done on why they locate to Ireland, while corporate tax rate is one of the more important issues, they cite other issues above that. For example, access to the European Union single market itself. They have very good infrastructure. They have very talented people who are relatively inexpensive compared to other European countries. So even if the corporate tax rate has to be raised, a lot of them say that they will stay in Ireland because of these advantages.
Now, some are even saying that it's possible that we could see Ireland exiting the European Union. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, well, as I mentioned before, one of the advantages that Ireland has is the access to EU. That's one of their biggest advantages. So I don't think they're going to give up that. But they will have a lot of legalistic arguments on why is the EU approaching this as a subsidy trade problem. And a lot of people are very angry because they think that EU is being perhaps too creative legally, and they're just too one-sided in imposing these type of penalties. So it's the same argument that they brought in Brexit, which is that the European Union is too bureaucratic, too legalistic, and it's almost dictatorial. And I think Ireland is going to appeal this decision, and we'll have to see what kind of political response the EU has.
Now, shifting our focus a little bit, with all this confusion regarding EU's decisions in the latest cases, what happens to the Google tax that countries agreed upon back in Turkey in November when they met for G20 summit? Okay,
well, Ireland, the type of tricks, legal tricks that some of the companies use to get low taxes in Ireland. Ireland actually promised them to phase it out, something called double Irish. And they actually promised to eliminate that by 2020. And as I mentioned before, the EU is approaching this as a trade subsidy issue rather than tax rate issue. So I think the G20 agreement is still alive.
Now, what about Korea? What kind of impact will this have on Korean companies, possibly?
Okay, well, not a lot of Korean companies' headquarters are located outside Korea. Strangely enough, all the the main headquarters for Korean companies are located in Korea itself. So unless Korea decides to look into this themselves, or I don't think we're going to get hit by tax bombs like Apple had or Google had. But I think there are some small and medium-sized companies and some individuals who might get hit that way because, well, we've seen that a lot of people have set up paper companies in Hong Kong and European Union.
Right.
And if they do decide to investigate that, either on the Korean side or the European side, they may get hit with more taxes. But for the major Korean conglomerates, it looks doubtful.
Political parties here in Korea have also been debating over raising corporate taxes. So is there any chance that the latest moves by the EU could bring about changes on how corporations are taxed here in Korea?
Okay, well, a lot of the so-called more conservative elements are arguing for lower tax rates. A lot of so-called progressive people want to raise the corporate tax rates. So far, the type of movement that we've seen, I think, doesn't give any evidence to either side. Because, well, while the tax rates are somewhat important, other elements like infrastructure and talented people seem to be as important, if not more important.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight today, Professor.
Thank you.
And that wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow with more at the same time, same place for your Business Daily. Until then, goodbye.